Hey guys, welcome to the Editing Bard, the channel that brings you writing tips that make sense. In today's video, we're going to be talking about what is a developmental editor and how can they help you bring your story to life. Are you ready? Let's go. So I hear this a lot. Stephen, what is a developmental editor? Now, as one myself, and I say, hey, I do developmental editing, people usually give me a funny look and are like, that's not a thing. It is a thing. So for instance, if you were to submit your manuscript to a publishing house, the first edit that's going to be done is going to be a developmental edit. Now, the developmental edit takes a look at the big picture of the story. So we're looking at the plot, the characters, the arc that they have, whether the secondary characters need to be beefed up or toned down. The world building, does it feel like a real world? All of these different kinds of things come into play when you're talking and dealing with a developmental editor. Now, the difference between a good developmental editor and a bad one is how they approach the editing. If they're making suggestions and they're saying, hey, you know what? You could really fix this area right here, or this part right here, you just need to tweak it a bit and it's gonna be just right. Sometimes they're gonna tell you to cut something. A good editor is gonna tell you why it needs to be cut. They are not going to just go through and hack and slash. That's not what a developmental editor is supposed to do. Now, if they come at you and they're like, you need to change this, probably not going to be a good fit for you, for really anyone in general. The important part, and one of the things that I get to do as a developmental editor, is I get to help take my clients' stories from good to great. That is what a developmental editor that you hire should also be doing. They should be coming along and helping you enhance the story, not just completely change it and overrule you. It's not their story. This goes for any editor in general, but especially because the developmental editors are going to be dealing with that big picture overview of your story. You need to be ready, take feedback, and work with that editor. So when should you get a developmental editor? That's another really key question that you should be asking yourself. When do I do it? Personally, I love it when an author comes to me with their first draft and they're like, hey, I need some help with this. Helping them go through their first draft is actually going to help set them up for success in the second draft, because they're going to be able to fix a lot of those plot holes, and we'll be able to kind of walk through how to set up and end that particular book. And that's regardless of whether it's a standalone novel or a series. So far, we've talked about a little bit what a developmental editor does and when it is that you should get one. You typically want to be looking at your first or second draft, because that's really going to help you build on what you have and set you up for success in the later drafts. But Stephen, do I need a developmental editor? I'm so glad you asked. Yes and no. Now, not to be wishy-washy, it depends on really what you're doing. If you're going the self-publishing route, then you absolutely need to have a developmental editor. It is key to the success of your book. As you're putting your best book forward, you want to make sure that what is in your head is getting onto the paper, and it's translating in a way that a reader is going to understand it. A developmental editor is going to help you do that and help set you up for success with that. Now, if you're going the traditional route, you probably are not going to need a developmental editor because they are going to provide that for you. As soon as you've submitted it to the publishing house and it's been accepted, it's going to start going through the review process, it's going to start going through the editorial process. That includes developmental edit. This is not necessary if you're going the traditional publishing route. I'm all about trying to help authors save as much money as they possibly can, in addition to providing them with honest opinions about what it is that I've seen and I think could help them. Whether or not you're deciding to go the self-publishing or traditional route, know that a developmental edit is going to be required of your book. It's essential that if you are going to do this successfully, that you have a developmental editor look at your book. Now, how do you find a developmental editor? There are lots of people who do developmental under a different name. So substantive editing, manuscript editing, those are two other terms that you'll usually see on an editor's website, and it all means the same thing. It's a developmental edit. It's the big picture overview. So guys, I would love to know, have you used a developmental editor? If so, who? List it down in the comments. I would love to know who the developmental editors are. I love connecting with other developmental editors. We're kind of like unicorns. Like, some authors can find us, but since most don't know we exist, it makes us special. Ooh. In all reality, I love connecting with other editors and talking to them about what works for them, what they do, how I can improve, and hopefully I can give some suggestions to help them as well. Appreciate you guys for taking the time watching this video. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button, comment, like, share, all of the things. It helps the channel, it helps me get out to more authors, because really, you guys are why I'm here. I love being able to help and share what knowledge that I have with you to help you put your best book forward. Thank you so much, guys, and I look forward to talking to you again. Take care.